She's by herself with a sign and the mask on, that big plastic
Good evening,
mask.
everyone.
She wears
Welcome to the
a
Fitchburg Municipal Airport.
Over
It's June
regular
21st,
clothes.
Airport Commission meeting. It's June 21st, 2023. It's 6:10. I'd like to thank everyone in attendance, and commissioners in attendance is Beth Walsh to my left, myself, Clayton Raymond, and ex officio member tonight is Mayor Stephen DiNatale.
Is it quorum?
And to my right, that's our quorum.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
I thought you needed...
No,
you
it's
needed-
three.
Oh, you need three, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
To my right, Airport Manager Peter Kettle. Members, people in attendance, Matt Karen from Gale Associates, thank you for coming. And Nick, last name? Erickson from Pittsburgh Commission DPW. Thanks for coming. All right, let's get to it. Do we have a vote to accept last month's meeting minutes?
I will make that motion.
I will second. We have a vote to accept.
Aye.
Thank you. 3-0. All right. Normally we start with the action items from last month's minutes. All action items are going to be covered in tonight's agenda items, so we're just going to move on. Item 2, correspondence to the commission. I have a big no here. I assume we do not have any.
No.
Yeah, thank you. Item 3 is Gale review of ongoing work. Matt Karen of Gale Associates.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, brief update this evening. Since the environmental assessment and wildlife hazard assessment grants were issued recently, we're just getting underway with those projects. We did have a kickoff meeting for the wildlife hazard assessment back on May 26th. Our subconsultant, the environmental subconsultant working with Gale Associates on that project, came to the airport. We met with Mr. Kettle at his office just to go over sort of the timeline, the schedule, access for the subconsultant to get on airport property so that they can do their analysis of the wildlife that's out there. Their first survey field work is scheduled for this Friday. It's expected to run through the 24th, possibly into the 25th. Arrangements have been made to get on to the airfield, like I had mentioned. Peter, thank you for making sure that she's all badged up and ready to get in. There'll be some dawn, midday, and dusk surveys that are taking place as part of that project. Again, the environmental assessment's just getting kicked off, so nothing really to report this evening on that project. As far as the utility expansion study, at the last commission meeting, we prepared a scope of work and fee for review by the commission. I believe that's in the commission's hands at this point to determine if there's funding available for that project and if you want to move forward with it. We did talk about reaching out to Mass DOT to see about getting an 80-20 grant on that, but have not had a chance to catch up with Owen Silbart at Mass DOT. That is still an action item for myself. But if there's any thoughts or consideration from the commission on whether or not you're planning on moving forward with that project, or if there's any questions with it, I'd be happy to answer those this evening.
Yep, Peter, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, it's a big cost to the airport, and the suggestion that we may get an ASMP grant would be very well received, I believe, by the commission and the city. Owen at the meeting did actually make a statement that he was concerned about the floodplain at that time, but we've since seen the latest FEMA floodplain document, and it's not up to date. And we've provided FEMA with the latest up-to-date figures using the new 3214 runway, and they are supposed to be coming back to us when they get a chance to do it. But at the end of the day, that's all going to be decided and published in December or January this year into next year.
Did they say whether or not they were going to get you an advanced sort of sneak preview of that?
Did say that,
okay.
yes.
Maybe, can we follow up with them? Do you mind following up with them and just seeing if we can get that? Because that information will be good for the environmental assessment as well.
Yeah.
So next month, I'll get a chance, hopefully, to speak with Mass DOT. We'll check in on the ASMP grant, and we'll report back to the commission. I don't have any update on the backup generator. I believe that's in Mass DOT's hands as well. There's the 2024 through 2026 Disadvantaged Business Enterprise goal that is due to the FAA by August 1st. Jackie Marks from my office has been working on that. Peter, I know she's been in touch with you. So the Airport Commission and the airport are covered. As far as that's concerned, we're making sure all the documentation that you need for that is going to be submitted. The last item I have is the Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant Program. At the last commission meeting, the commission asked to review the eligibility of the grant for the EV charging station. If you remember, we did look into that. I believe the grant application deadline was June 15th, so that has come and gone. But one of the biggest questions that we had for the Airport Commission was whether or not, again, you had the funds and the resources from the city to take on that project. If you recall, 5 years after it was implemented, those operating fees and everything else in the maintenance became the responsibility of the Airport Commission. So again, a lot of these federal programs, there are multiple grant opportunities and funding opportunities that are going to continuously be coming out, whether it be the bipartisan infrastructure law funding or other programs from the Federal Highway Administration. So I would just suggest that as a group, collectively, you have those discussions internally so that the next opportunity that becomes available, you're in a position to go, chasing those funding opportunities if that's something that the Airport Commission decides is in their best interest. So, and we're happy to help out however we can on those, and we'll give as much advance notice as these opportunities become available to the Commission.
As a follow-up to that, Matt, I actually contacted the Chief of Staff for the city with the question, what is going on in the city? Are they taking advantage of this grant?
Yep.
And my understanding is that was passed on to the community development person.
Yeah. Liz Murphy,
and I'm waiting for a response from Liz Murphy on that.
Okay.
So maybe she's already put in an allocation, and maybe we can tag on to that for the airport.
That'd be cool.
So...
Excellent. Well, that's all I have, unless there's any questions for me on any of these projects.
We're good, Matt.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
for the
Matt.
update. Item 4 is the Fitchburg Pilots Association, mainly Aerofair, June 18th, Young Eagles. I understand it was well attended.
It was very well attended. There were over 600 people in attendance. We were fortunate enough to have the mayor come down and mingle with the people and do his good job there. And also City Councillor Sally Cragen came down as well. So it was very well attended, 600 people. I just have one comment that if the next one happens, then we have to have better control on the actual people that attended, because the kids were running all over the place, even though we had the people with the yellow vests on. And I put that input back into the Pilots Association, and they said, yes, we agree with you. It's got to be better controlled, because an airport with uncontrolled people is not a safe place. Yeah. So they got the words from me. Does the mayor want to say something?
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Peter, is there a way that we can delineate certain areas, rope it off kind of thing, with,
There is.
as opposed to having someone physically? Because that's the difficulty, right? Getting someone to do that,
Well, no, there was about 18 people in attendance, but
Yeah.
they all mingled together and didn't go out and do their
Go
job.
up. Okay.
So really, it just needs direction from the people. We did line off the area that took the people down into the Life Flight helicopters, and we were very fortunate that Life Flight themselves, Air Method, actually brought another one in from Worcester. So there was 2 helicopters there. One was active, and in order to make sure that was safe, we kept them away and had a line with people being escorted. That was well controlled. But generally, in the area where the main planes were being viewed, it was a little bit of a hit and miss
It
situation.
was wide open, yeah.
But it was a very, very successful day.
Yeah.
So you don't really know if 100 people are coming, 300 people are coming, or 1,000.
Right.
We know that there was 50 kids flown. We knew
Oh,
that there
wow.
was 50 kids
Yeah.
actually applied
Oh, good.
for the flying, so,
Filled up.
yes.
You know, Peter, that's the Pilots
Pittsburgh Pilots
Association.
Association, yes, sir.
I mean, just, who is, and that's Mr. Walton?
Daniel Walton.
Yeah. They could improve on that, too. I mean, you know.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Food trucks, that kind of thing.
They could.
That really what they should have, would have been terrific down there, you know?
They could.
Yeah.
All has to do with how the weather is that day, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's a weather-dependent event. I mean,
Sure.
yeah, clearly.
It was supposed to have been a washout, but luckily, the heavens opened up for us, and
On a
you know,
weekend.
it was a clear
On a
day, which
weekend
was good.
In June.
Right.
Very good. All right, thank you, Peter. New business, RFQ, RFP update. Heater kettle.
We have 3 RFP type positions going out at the moment. One of them is an RFQ because when an airport master plan is completed, the city has to go out for a new RFQ because there's new jobs to be done by the consultant to the airport.
Okay.
So that is going to be sent out the first week in July. We have 2 others. They're both RFPs. One is for a life flight allocation to build a hangar and also living accommodation at the airport. That is going out next week. We've had a tremendous input from the city attorney on that with respect to the land lease. And also the next one to go out will be a standard land lease for the vacant land on 20, the one next to between Nagel and the FPA hangar, the one where the current asbestos hangar is, and the one in between hangar 3 and where the RVs are positioned at the moment. And both of those are the same, but the only difference is that it's a life flight. One of those is purely for life flight. And we have to go out for an RFP on that. They've all been completed, and the Chief Procurement Officer is ready to actually publish those next week. So things are moving ahead.
Yeah, one question. So each of those is a possibility for a life flight, or is it just, or are they all big enough for a life flight?
They're all too big for a life flight.
Oh, they are?
Yes.
Okay,
We've got, one of them's 800,000 square feet.
okay.
The other one's 12,000. The other one's 11.6, which is, I think, the one they'll choose. And then the other one's 27,000
Yeah.
square feet. So,
So they're eligible
Variety of
to
space.
build on any one of those?
Yes.
Yeah,
but the main criteria there is the availability of the utilities.
yeah,
And the one that suits them best would be the 11,600, which is where they are at the moment.
which is the closest one to
Yes.
utilities now.
Yes.
Very good. We'll see how that goes. When do those documents get opened?
I think it's July the 5th.
July 5th?
Yes.
So people have to respond quickly.
Well, they've got like 2.5 weeks, I think it is.
That's quick.
I think minimum's 14 days, isn't it, for an RFP? I think. Attorney Pusaderi?
Please repeat that, sir.
For an allocation of an RFP, once it goes out, the responses are usually within 14 days.
I don't know.
I think
She'll
that's-
set a different time she sets the rules on how
Right.
each one of them will operate. I would think she'd give people 2 to 3 weeks to
Right.
file a response. Yeah.
I believe it's 14 days, but don't quote me on it.
I will not.
I think the other question we had is how to get the most robust response. Where are we advertising the RFP?
Right.
Are there periodicals that you should be looking at, or is there just a posting with the central purchasing office in Massachusetts, which I don't think gets us all that much traction?
I don't think it does. I think it needs to go in a Boston paper and a Worcester paper as well.
we should
Because
talk
that's where the
about where
major
it gets
people are
advertised.
who want to come out of the city,
Yeah.
the big airports.
Yeah.
So it's a big attraction for them.
Excellent. All right, well, old business, electric charging stations, I think that was Matt, missed the deadline by a week, but we need to consider whether we're going to move forward with something like that again in another year, right? Thank you.
Unless unless the development department within the city's already got that allocation and it's applied for, that we could jump onto.
So
as
Liz is
discussed
going
earlier.
to get back to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Old business item B, minimum standards.
Can I recuse myself?
Yeah,
Do you have anything to talk about, or?
just a little.
Okay.
Yep.
No, I will not.
If you could just give me a minute, Peter's going to recuse himself as we talk about minimum standards, item 2.3.
What's this?
Peter, are you going to step out?
Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Thank you, Peter. So, points of interest. The minimum standards, as we all know, was last approved in 1973. Peter Kettle had proposed new minimum standards in November of 21. I opened it up to the general public for their response and comments. They actually developed minimum standards as they see it should be. I have that. And we had an up-down vote on insurance minimums, outdated language, and specifying square footage for different users or tenants at the airport. So now the commission is tasked with updating 1973 minimum standards, and I'm finding myself at a snail's pace trying to update just one paragraph, and ends up being involved in all the paragraphs moving forward throughout the document. So I think where I am at right now is just trying to get some clarification on definitions of nomenclature, such as independent operator, SOSAs, and a couple other items I'm working on. I'm hoping to get a definition of those two items from FAA documents. And the other one is the minimum insurance. I know that we had an up-down vote on $1 million for tenants at the airport. However, from the 1973 document, there's a list of like 7 or 8 different types of insurance, and then there's columns for 8 or 9 types of operators that are at the airport. Unfortunately, the left column is illegible. It's been copied from a poor copy, and I just cannot read the left column. And it's running into a bit of an issue because people are having trouble determining whether they're even in compliance with the 73 document, let alone with new documents. So I'm going to visit an insurance agent, or consult with the city insurance advisor. My big question tonight really was for Solicitor Pusateri. I wanted to know the name or the type of insurance that insures the city from a slip and fall or bodily injury at the airport.
Be general liability insurance.
It's a general liability
Yeah,
insurance.
that's what it would be. If we really have an insurance question, I would rely on Albert Risk Management, Judy Kokinda, and we could, if you want to forward it to me, I can just flip it to her. That'd be easiest for you.
That would be the easiest for me. I would
Yeah.
like to forward what we had in 1973, even though the left
Yeah.
column's illegible.
Yes.
And if she can make heads or tails of that, I'm all for it. And we have to vote it on it anyways, and it's going to have to be reviewed, so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Beth or Mr. Mayor, do you have any comment on the minimum standards? And I'm hoping these are minimum standards. It's just, every time you make a change, you wonder, are you stepping into somebody's lease language? And it's rather difficult. So I guess all we can do is come up with it and then see if it bumps into people's leases.
And I think that, Mr. Pusateri, I think that would be something that would be in your area of expertise to review when that gets done. Would that be correct?
Sure, and I'm going to suggest that the lion's share of all the leases contemplates that this body may make future rules and regulations in connection with the airport, and that the lessees would have to abide by those. So we are going to impact those leases by design.
Okay.
Future laws was actually a concept that I was introduced to through the Airport Commission and through the FAA regulatory scheme, because it's always evolving.
Yeah.
And so when we do pass those, it's going to be incorporated in these leases.
Yeah. Again, I bring it up because should have been updating this thing at least every 5 or 10 years since 1973, and it has not been. So instead of minor changes, these are going to look like pretty big changes. Yeah. So.
Okay.
I think at this point, that's
all we can do.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
going to be at a snail's pace, and just have to plug along and open lines of communications between me and the solicitor and maybe the development or zoning board or whatever. I still have questions about that.
Okay.
All right. That's good. We can go to item C. Peter Kettle, you can come back now. I don't think he can hear you. No, I don't think so either.
he's in the cone of silence.
Are you up now? Are you up now? Yeah, I wish.
All right. Welcome back, Peter. Old business, item C,
Go.
land lease, 20 runway area, Air Methods.
Make the motion to go out of order.
Well, I think is he up now?
I don't know.
Mr. Chairman, is the DPW Commissioner up now?
Can
If we can suspend the
take him
rules
out
and
of
get
order.
him up now so he can.
Yeah, as long as, if
Yeah,
no
we
one
can
has a
take 'em out of
problem with that,
order.
we can
That's
do
fine.
that.
Yeah.
I just don't even, where is that agenda? Okay, yes,
F.
item F. Yes. We will go right to item F. We skip C. Crawford Street Safety. Nick Erickson. Thank you, Nick, for coming.
Thanks for having me. So did Peter pass out the cost estimate to you folks? Okay, perfect. That was
Finance drawing.
I don't know that we have a cost estimate.
I just have a drawing.
Yeah, it's all on the bag, the cost estimate. It's all there.
All I have is this.
No, you got one of these as well.
No, I
put them all the way
guarantee you I
through. I did, I promise you I did.
That's a black and white version. Peter's got it.
Well, I'll take the fancy color one. How's that?
I like black and white.
Okay.
Keeps it simple.
So this is a cost estimate that I prepared for Peter based on the 2 locations indicated in the photos, the screenshots from Google Maps. So based on the linear footages and the requirement for 4 end sections for each of these 2 areas, we're looking at an estimated cost of roughly $96,000 to install guardrail. This is quite expensive, and if we compare that to previous cost estimates for rumble strips and Jersey barriers, this is the most expensive option. Rumble strips being the least expensive at about $20,000, Jersey barriers being roughly $50,000 for these 2 areas, and then this option, the third, being roughly double the cost. So a couple things I'd like to point out. as far as an operation and maintenance costs go, rumble strips are by far the cheapest to maintain. You know, we install them, that's it, it's done, but they don't prevent cars from going off the road. Jersey barriers are a little bit more labor intensive to install, but we can do it in-house, so it's not too big of a heavy lift for us. They certainly prevent vehicles from going off the road, but they might cause more injuries or damage to the vehicle as opposed to allowing the car to go off the road and through the fence. There's a little bit of a maintenance requirement associated with those. Every year we'll have to go and trim the brush that inevitably will grow up in between the Jersey barriers or behind them. We'll need to remove graffiti if graffiti gets painted on them, and then if a vehicle hits them, they'll become spalled over time and they'll require replacement. So a little bit more labor intensive as far as operation maintenance goes than the rumble strips. Guardrail is the most labor intensive to operate and maintain. It's no different than the fence that you guys have to replace every time a car goes through it. If a car hits the guardrail, we'll need to go through the insurance claim process with Munitech just like we do with the fence, except instead of you folks being responsible for that, it's going to be me that's responsible for that. So it's just you folks handing the responsibility over to me. I don't necessarily have the budget to install guardrail. I don't have budget to do any of these things, frankly. I'd have to find the budget to do that. So whether we're talking about $20,000 for rumble strips or $100,000 for guardrails or anything in between, it's not something that I can just make happen. So we need to either plan for that for the next budget cycle, or we need to keep our eyes open for some sort of a grant opportunity that might come along. I could discuss with the mayor's office whether there's available funds that could be used for this purpose, but obviously that's the decision that me and the mayor would have to talk about with Mr. Kettle and come up to with a resolution. So that's kind of where we're at with the whole situation here. I do want to say, I don't know if you saw me on the phone just before the meeting started. That was actually my contact at MassDOT at the state level, not at the district level. So he advised me that in a lot of these cases, they start with an engineering study to figure out radius of the road. You know, you've got a shoulder width, you've got your embankments further down below. You kind of assess the hazards. You look at the accidents that do happen, you know, what time of day they happen, what speed the vehicles were traveling at, the weather that was occurring at the time, and then design your safety devices kind of around that. So I'm not too familiar with exactly when the accidents happen. I know they happen about once a month, but I'm not sure if it's late at night, early in the morning, middle of the day. My guess is it's probably late at night on the weekends, and my assumption is that it's people coming home either overtired or intoxicated that go off the roadway. So honestly, I don't think rumble strips are going to be an effective way to control that type of behavior. I think you're looking at guardrails or Jersey barriers. The question is, how much do we want to spend? How much do we want to commit to future maintenance? And those are the details we need to work out still.
Yeah, go ahead, Beth.
Can I ask, is there any indication of what the cost would be for such a study?
I don't know offhand. I'd have to talk to one of our engineering consultants. I'm not sure if that's in your wheelhouse or you're more airport specific. So I can get a couple prices for that. My guess is it's probably going to be somewhere around a $20,000 study.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
How much would it cost to conduct an engineering study to determine a safety? What design is appropriate for this type of roadway? So I think for the price of rumble strips, you could get a study done. Right. So you're almost better off just doing the rumble strips at that point and seeing if it works and taking a kind of an iterative approach. But I'd rather not just throw away $20,000 on something we know isn't going to be very effective. So I guess in that case, I'd lean towards having the engineering study done. Yeah. Or, I mean, we know that if you rule out the rumble strips, I think the next best option would be the Jersey barriers, because they're a physical barrier that's going to stop cars from leaving the roadway. We could take these stretches here, based on Peter's markups. I estimated 750 feet for the northernmost length and about 700 feet for the southernmost length towards Leominster. We could narrow that down a little bit and focus on exactly the areas that encompass where we've observed vehicles leaving the roadway, And that might shrink those numbers down a little bit and make it a little bit more affordable. But that's kind of the option that I'm leaning towards. I don't know if there's any feedback from the commission, but happy to answer any additional questions.
Would the study also have to be accomplished to place guardrails in these areas? I mean, Jersey barriers in these areas as well?
Typically, the study's done before any sort of engineering devices are implemented on a roadway. And that was the advice that I received from the DOT contact.
Yeah.
This is the approach they take when they get these types of requests on state numbered routes. And that's typically what we do anyways. Sometimes I have a hard time funding a study when we have anecdotal evidence from crash history, et cetera.
Yes.
That's going to give you roughly the same idea of what you need to do. So,
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
so the study isn't to determine where and how to place the guardrail, if that's the way we're going.
it's more to determine the appropriate type of device to place.
Okay,
So say, for example, the accidents are mostly due to cars sliding off the roadway due to rain because the road's wet. Well, then instead of installing guardrails, we could install a high-friction microsurface on the roadway to give cars more traction. So that's just a kind of an over-exaggerated example, but there's a lot of different safety devices we could potentially install out there that aren't necessarily physical barriers. Rumble strips would help overtired drivers. But if you're dealing with intoxicated drivers exclusively, then rumble strips aren't going to help. Microsurface treatments aren't really going to help. The only thing that's going to help is a Jersey barrier or guardrail. Guardrails are just a maintenance nightmare, just like fences. It's one of those things where as soon as a car hits it, we need to go out and replace the panel or replace the end section, depending on where it's hit. The end sections are $5,500 each based on Mass DOT's median District 3 prices, so they're not cheap. So you get one accident there, and we're talking about a $6,000 repair instead of replacing a couple sections of fence at a cost of $1,000. So
do we know, do we have, there's no cameras or anything in that area, as I'm thinking, if you know who the individual was that went off and hit the guardrail, and you hit the insurance company up, and we don't have to pay it, but we don't have any way of knowing who that is. Usually what they'll do is hit it and, if they can, drive away.
right, that's the primary issue is there's a lot of hit-and-run accidents. We see it all the time, not just at the airport on Crawford Street. We see it on Main Street with telephone poles and utility poles and streetlights and all that.
Yeah.
It's just something we deal with on a regular basis.
Nick, does MassDOT have any grant funding, that would cover something like this?
Not that I'm aware of
aviation
specifically for
section?
this. They do have grant programs out there focused on roadway safety. I just don't think there's anything specific to guardrail installations. But after my conversation with Peter yesterday, I committed to looking at different grant opportunities that are out there, talking with people at the state to see if there's anything they can help us out with. So the contact that I have at DOT didn't know anything specifically that he could help me out with. He directed me to talk to someone local at District 3, and he said chances are they'll say it's a city responsibility and not help us out, but there might be some sort of a grant program out there that I'm not aware of. So that's the next step, is for me to reach out to District 3.
Okay.
Well, Nick, thank you for your time put into this. I think the numbers alone are helpful. We'll have to discuss a study, I suppose.
So one thing I just want to point out, just so you're making an apples-to-apples comparison. So I had provided Peter with a cost comparison for rumble strips versus Jersey barriers 2 meetings ago. I think it was the meeting back in May. The location that I used for the Jersey barriers was only the first location shown in the most recent cost estimate for guardrails that I provided tonight. And it wasn't quite as long. It was only 500 feet versus the 750 that I included in the guardrail estimate tonight. So if you're looking for a more apples-to-apples comparison between the Jersey barrier number and the guardrail number, you need to increase the linear footage that I used in that original estimate. So I can work the math and provide you with an
Yeah.
update, but I just didn't come prepared with that tonight.
Okay. Well, we can do that as well, right? Because you have it here by footage.
I do.
Yeah. All right. Peter, anything? Anyone?
No, I'd just like to thank Nick
Yeah.
for his work done on this. Great job, as usual. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Like I said, I'll reach out to District 3. I'll let you know what they say, and then maybe we can come up with a more solid plan after we get an answer from them, whether they can help with this or not.
Makes sense.
Yeah, as always, nothing's as simple as, hey, there's a busted fence, let's put something in front of it, and we're all set.
Right.
A hypothetical question. Is there any way that there's a device that can go on those sections that can switch off cell phones so that people don't look and listen and text whilst they're driving? Because that's the major reason for the problem, as far as I'm
Be
concerned.
more focused on why their cell phone's not working.
Right.
Yeah, well, I
I
guess
think
you're
we
right.
honestly have to look at positioning a camera
Yeah.
or cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We could do that.
grab them, they go off the road. Hopefully you get their license plate and,
To be honest, the last 4 that have happened, I've contacted the police station,
yeah.
and we've actually got a report, and it's gone to the insurance company, and Munitech have actually done the repair and charged it to the insurance company. We didn't have to pay anything.
What insurance company?
Whose ever insurance is that the person was driving the car.
Oh, they had the,
Yes.
they had the person?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
We use the same company with our assets that get hit out in the right-of-way, so
Right.
street lights, traffic signals, et cetera. And they do a great job. It's
do.
It's very helpful service that
Yeah.
they provide.
I'm sorry, is that the Muni?
Unitech.
Munitech.
Is that what you've been
Yes.
using? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Nick,
like-
who's District 3, is that Lorien?
Yep. Yep. So I'll reach out to Barry. I've got a couple other questions, some other topics, but
Okay.
I'll follow up with all three.
Yeah, I could follow up with him if you, after you speak to him.
I'll CC you on the correspondence.
Okay.
I mean, in all likelihood, we're going to find out a dozen reasons why people go off the road.
I really don't care. I mean, I don't get why they go off the road.
Yeah.
I want, do the right thing.
Fence protected,
You
yeah.
know, of course, I know that if they're intoxicated, they're gonna
They're going to hit the
drive
road.
away as quickly as they can, but,
Yeah,
well, I mean, we need to recover
yeah.
something for the city. I mean, this is ridiculous. That area is
Yeah.
just crazy, you know?
So we did install speed warning signs on either approach there. Whether it's actually been effective or not, I'm not sure. I'd have to talk to Sergeant Boudreau, and we can download the traffic data that each of those boxes collect and analyze speeds and all that. So, but that's the type of data that will be used if we proceed with some sort of an engineering study. They'll look at the speeds, they'll look at the geometry of the roadway, et cetera, and come up with the best engineering solution out there. And it probably will be guardrails or just barriers, if I had to guess, but
Personal opinion, if I may comment, is that I believe those signs have made a difference.
good.
But even so, people are going at that, but people still overtake on the double yellow line because they're in a hurry.
Right.
It hasn't stopped those people down, and if they get to those corners and they're, you know, what my really concern is, my main concern, is that embankment is so steep going down. If you're going to the south, it's so steep on the right-hand side that people could be killed. The last one actually rolled 4 times, and the guy got out of his car and walked back up the hill. He was very, very lucky. And I can see somebody dying there. And I think the actual guardrail or the Jersey barrier is the only solution
Yeah,
to stop that happening.
clearly. Yeah.
I
So
think we need a study. Never thought I'd say that, but
well,
I'm saying it now.
let me reach out to DOT first, see if there's any assistance they can provide whatsoever. You know, who knows? Maybe they've got a grant with a consultant on board that can just help us with a study. I don't know. You never know.
Right.
So I'll ask the question first, and then
Yeah.
we'll come up with a plan.
Thank you, Nick.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Nick,
Very well.
All right, we're going to back up to item C,
Yes.
land lease 20 runway area and air methods.
Yeah, as new business. They're going out. That's it. The land
Okay.
lease. That's it. So we cover that in item 1
business,
of new
yes.
business, yeah.
Item D, Hangar 1 agreement.
I'm very happy to say that here we have the agreement, and it's just been finally signed by the mayor and Attorney Pusateri. So that will now go to the Register of Deeds to be registered.
No, there's no need to file a notice.
There's no need to,
It's
okay?
a 5-year renewable lease.
Not necessary. Excellent.
Sorry.
So I will send
That's on
them,
the airport proper, too. That's on the, yeah.
I'll send them a copy of this, and we're good to go. Excellent, thank you.
Off the agenda. Item E, Greg Dinning. I think he has enough information to do what he needs to do with his, was it specialty flight attitude training?
Yes,
Very good. Item F,
just done.
done it. Item G, U.S. Department of Agriculture, USDA.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the depredation permit. Everything's been filled in, and we're
Good.
just waiting for them now, so.
Any more deer sightings?
No, but we had a mountain lion
Oh, wow,
on the runway. He was a big boy.
yeah.
This was 2 days ago.
You
Big
might,
boy.
you might want to tell Gale Associates
This
about
high.
that.
Mountain lion.
Where?
On the runway.
A mountain lion?
Yeah.
Sure it wasn't just a large cat.
No, it certainly wasn't. It was a big boy. We've seen one before about 5 years ago.
Is it the same one?
I don't know.
Wait a
I
minute,
didn't
you were-
ask him.
No?
Did you ask him for ID?
We got to hit him up for
Big
that
one.
That's right.
Yeah.
permit.
Were you spending time at your hangar that day or anything like that? I mean,
No, somebody else took a
Cooler
photograph.
or no?
Told me about it. So,
All right.
All right, well, we should hear from them. Item H, PPG. I love these acronyms.
powered paragliders, that started on Saturday. It's going well. They're going until the 30th, and then they're holding another training session in July, at the end of July.
And all is good with them.
It's going well, yes.
Very good, thank you. Financial review, approval of commitments and abatements, if there is any. Peter?
There isn't any, and my understanding is that the department where Sharon Tardif works, the Treasurer's Office,
Yeah.
are having trouble giving me the type of report that I need with the new Munis system. I need a list of everybody that actually pays to the airport for both their rentals and their leases on the actual main airport area with the FBOs. And I can't get an up-to-dated version of that that shows who owes what to the airport. So I don't know if there's anybody that's, owes the airport a considerable amount of money. I don't know. So I'm waiting for a report.
Did you raise that issue with the treasurer?
I did.
And
They are waiting for IT,
IT.
because they did introduce the new Munis system. So
Okay.
I'll chase them again, because it's important that, with the end of the month.
So the information's in there, but they don't know how to
Just
pick
can't
it
get
out and send you
all
a
at
report.
once. Right.
Yeah.
The only way to do it is to do it manually, and there's maybe 45 to 50 tenants.
There is, yeah.
So
How many tenants?
maybe 45 to 50, with all the hangars and everything.
Were you talking individual fact units?
No, I'm talking about the people that are in hangars 1, hangars 2, hangars 3, hangars 7, hangars 8, hangars 10, hangars 11, and hangars 13.
Some of those have 6 to 12 people in them.
Right. So,
Okay.
and also the people that are outside the airport that rent a
Facts.
sign on Benson Street, is it?
Those are the licenses for the
Right.
signs.
Right.
You got fact, you got big techs,
Yeah.
you got the city itself.
Right.
The city paying their rent?
No. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. So,
I think
I
the
wanna
meter
have to sue
system works
myself.
fine, they just don't want to give it to you.
right. Right. So, yeah.
All right,
I'll take care of that.
now I'm going to put an action item on that, because obviously this has got to be something we got to follow up on.
Yes, it is.
All right, item G, executive session. There is not an executive session this evening. Date and time of next regular meeting is July 19th at 6 PM here at the Legislative Building. Regular meeting to adjourn at, I got 6:52.
You have to vote. You have to vote to adjourn, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And I need a vote or a roll call to adjourn. Do I have that? Motion, Beth.
Motion.
Second. Raymond. Mr. Mayor, do you want to adjourn?
Oh, yes, thank you,
All right.
with great relish.
3-0. Yeah, you don't have to elaborate.
One
On
hour.
what?
1 hour.
I've got-
Well, I'm waiting for us to go to.